Don Lemon says women are only in their prime in their 20s and 30s, and it sounds like from what he says to me, after that, it's all downhill. And apparently Piers Morgan thinks this is what led to him getting fired or leaving CNN.
This is what led to you leaving CNN. Let's take a look at the clip.
She says people, politicians or something are not in their prime. Nikki Haley isn't in her prime. Sorry. When a woman is considered to be in her prime in her 20s and 30s and maybe 40s.
What do you talk? Wait.
That's not according to me.
Prime for what?
It depends. I mean, it's just like prime. If you look it up, if you Google when is a woman in her prime, it'll say 20s, 30s, and 40s. I don't necessarily.
40s. Oh, I got another.
I'm not saying I agree with that. So I think she has to be careful about saying that.
Oh man, let's keep watching.
When you watch that, Don, I happened to be watching that live, and I was like, "Whoa, what did you just say?" If you had a do-over, would you say that again? I mean, what led you to say that?
Okay, Piers, let me just say this. I'm going to answer your question, but just so the audience knows, and I hope you don't cut this out. When I asked you what subjects you wanted to talk about, you know what you said to me? You said, I want to talk to you about freedom of speech in America and the response to Charlie Kirk's death.
Yeah.
Not once did you mention that we were going to talk about CNN or whatever. So, and had I known that, I probably wouldn't have accepted this interview. You have invited me on many times, and I tell you, Piers, I know you. I would come on your show, but I don't do panels. And so when you said I'm not going to be involved in a panel, I agreed to come on your show. But I thought you would also stick by the subjects that you told me that you were going to talk about.
The question is, what does that have to do with you thinking that women's prime is in their 20s and 30s? And after that, you said, hey, it's Google said it, not me. It's over for him. It's over for him.
To be clear,
rather than try to ambush me with something.
Just to be clear, so, you and I haven't, well, John, just to be clear, you and I haven't had any conversation about your appearance here. You're talking about my team talking to you?
Yeah, no, and I saw you, Piers, in a restaurant, and I said, hey, Piers, good to see you. Yeah. I would come on your show, but I don't do panels.
Right.
And I said the same thing to your bookers.
There's only one of you.
And so when I asked you, right. Okay, and so, yes, and I said that's why I agreed to do it. But when you asked me, or when your team asked me what subjects, and I asked them 2 or 3 times, I have the text messages, what do you want to cover? Yeah. Not once was CNN mentioned. So I don't appreciate being ambushed, but let me answer your question.
Hang on one second.
No, I want to hear him. I want to hear his answer.
Don, hang on one second. Let's just be crystal clear about what's just happened. You brought up the subject of cancel culture. I asked you, did you feel your departure from CNN was an example of that? And you answered the question. And I think it's perfectly reasonable.
And I answered the question.
Perfectly reasonable in that if you'd said to me, I don't want to talk about it, fine.
I don't like arguing like this. I'm not going to get into an argument with you. Piers, I think that's completely disingenuous. And I think anyone watching that.
What are you talking about?
And so if you will allow me, please.
What
please
are you talking about?
Me, okay. Did you invite me here to interrupt me, or are you going to let me?
I think you're being a complete, if I'm honest with you.
Okay.
I do.
Well, that's very kind and respectful of you.
That word's probably going to be blocked out. He said, I think you're being a complete D, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, it wasn't intended to be kind or respectful.
All right. So here's why this is hilarious. Here's why this is funny as hell. Is in the beginning there, you have Don Lemon, who's on CNN talking trash about a Republican politician, Nikki Haley. Expected, right? Nothing wrong with that. The problem here is what he said. And this entire dynamic and conversation says a lot about a lot of liberal people who have a difficult time with hard truths. Now, I've said this before. I'll continue to say this. I don't identify as any particular party, even though a lot of my values are conservative. But follow me here. I'm getting somewhere. If he would have said, this is what's insane. If he would have said, do you think a young man who's building himself up has less value than a man who's established? Past probably, around past 30s when men start to really establish themselves. These chicks would have agreed and says, yes, his value in the workplace would be higher. Context is important. His sexual market value in the dating market would probably be higher as well. Is there any part of his life where his value might be lower? Well, in that case, you'd have to find a field that would require him to be younger, right? And that would require his youth. Let's say he was a young actor on Disney Channel or something like that. You typically find out that for the young male Disney Channel actors, the older they get, the less roles they have. And from what I've seen, they don't do well transitioning into being well-known adult actors. In fact, their lives are pretty terrible, right? Everybody would agree with that. The problem here is you have two women who most likely think that women always have value forever, no matter where they're at. This is what I assure you they believe. That's why when he made that statistic saying, hey, if you're a woman who gets on camera and your physical appearance along with your talent play a factor into how long your career is going to run, I know a lot of women wish it was different, but that's the truth, right? A lot of female politicians do get on camera a lot, give interviews, and their physical appearance, their youth does play a factor. It's something people don't like to talk about. But Don Lemon here brought it up to two co-hosts who, trust me, are very much in touch and are aware that their physical appearance does play a role in just how long their career will last. And they know the older they get, the more likely their network will go look for younger women to replace them. That was the mistake here that was made. An uncomfortable truth was spoken, and they didn't like that coffee.
Nikki Haley isn't in her prime. Sorry. When a woman is considered to be in her prime in her 20s and 30s and maybe 40s.
What are you talking? Wait.
That's not according to me.
Prime for what?
It depends. I mean, it's just like prime. If you look it up, if you Google when is a woman in her prime, it'll say 20s, 30s, and 40s. I don't necessarily.
40s. So I got another.
I'm not saying
decade.
I agree with that.
All right, we've got some comments here. Top comment here says Don Lemon is 10 times better as an independent journalist. Let's talk about the sponsor of this channel, fathershaverights.com. Engaged and soon to be married men, a single prenup slip up can cost you tens of thousands later. Waiting until the last minute or signing under pressure are the mistakes that sink most agreements. My step-by-step guide at fathershaverights.com, built with expert attorneys James Sexton and the lead attorney, shows you exactly how to avoid every costly prenup mistake, all for the price of a couple of dinner dates. Tap the link pinned to the top of the comment section to safeguard your future and join the hundreds of soon-to-be husbands protecting their marriages the right way. Somebody responded back here and says he's trash. Another person who says when Don Lemon gets Don Lemon. Here's somebody else who says Don Lemon did the exact same thing when he interviewed Elon Musk. Oh, yes. Yeah, he did do the exact same thing when he interviewed Elon Musk. Yeah. Wow. I do remember that. Straight up ambushed him with questions that I'm sure he didn't tell him that they were going to address. I remember that. Yeah, he attacked Elon like crazy. That interview was so awkward. That was one awkward discussion and interview. And what I remember about that discussion and interview, it was sort of supposed to be Don Lemon's like jumpstart for breaking into independent journalism. I remember watching that interview and going to go check out his YouTube channel. I remember watching his YouTube channel. This guy was talking like regular, like podcast setup talk. And in the background, he had the most dramatic CNN like news drama music playing in the background. You know that like da 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 da, and he's just having like a regular convo. I think people were like, "Hey, you gotta cut that music out." It was hilarious. Maybe his YouTube channel is doing better now. I don't know. Let's check. It's not easy. Okay, 878K subscribers. Really, subscribers don't matter much anymore, guys. The subs are cool, but it's not about the subs anymore. I mean, he's doing better, a whole lot better. The surprising thing for a lot of people is when you think of someone like Don Lemon or you think of Michelle Obama and they start these platforms, you think they would immediately just take off, but it takes a lot of work. Here I am on one of his videos. I'm probably not going to play any of his videos, but I want to check out the comments to show you guys what I'm talking about. See, this comment here says the superhero music is too distracting. People are like, yep, too much. Let me see. People were talking. That was like one of the top comments. This comment here says, was the music a personal choice? If you guys are wondering what I'm talking about, go check out this video here. Candace Owens fired. Is Ben Shapiro just another free speech hypocrite? Right? And you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. Of course, guys, curious to know what you think. Leave your comments down below. Hey, guys, as always, I appreciate you checking out yet another episode of the Coffee Pod. To my currently engaged or soon-to-be married men, if you need a prenup and would like a guide that shows you how to get a solid and legally binding prenuptial agreement, hit the link pinned to the top of the comment section and access your guide at fathershaverights.com today.